Nano Machine by Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 478. Special Forces. Part 1. AD. Year 2941.xx.xx. A location that looked like a conference room, with a round table right in the middle. At the table, a middle-aged man with a mustache and white robe sat at the top. Then there were 5 people in uniforms with moon and star designs on them. However, except for the middle-aged man, none of them were real. Whoa! A beam was projected down from a device installed on the ceiling, a 3-dimensional image. The people were able to attend the meeting through that. The middle-aged man spoke while pointing to the screen which was behind him. Did you get it? Among the 3D images, a bald man with a black eye patch on his left eye opened his mouth. I apologize, but should we really consider this a code orange? I think this is code blue or yellow. The bald man didn't think that the image displayed called for so much attention. He didn't think that the situation was that serious. The middle-aged man with a mustache who listened to that spoke while pointing the laser in his hand to the monitor behind him. As you can see, everyone realizes that there is a nano machine inside that one's body, right? The eyes of the person in the image were enlarged so that the others could see clearly the white particles which were hanging in their pupils. Seeing that it's augmented reality, it has to be a nano machine. But, as the captain of Special Forces, Hugo, said, should we now send in another unit with the same equipment while considering this a code blue? Next to the bald man, a black man in a blue uniform spoke. Code orange was the second highest priority, under code red, in the TP. And it meant from that point on, the Special Forces could be deployed. Special Forces Captain, Takuya. How far did the reports go? I heard that the patrol units sent to those coordinates were annihilated. Do you want to call for a code blue, despite the new information? Commander. If the martial artist has a nano machine specialized for combat in him, it's possible for the entire unit to be killed. And there's a chance of leaking information. Before he could finish his words, the enlarged image on the monitor returned to its original size and started playing. The 5 captains of the Special Forces looked at it. As they watched the video being played, their eyes changed. No. He stopped bullets? Was it telekinesis? Weren't those ultra-vibrating bullets? Comments of shock and surprise flowed out of the captain's mouth. Tick. The recorded video ended. The middle-aged man, no, the commander, asked them. Okay, now what do you think about it? Do you still think it's code blue? A woman with curly red hair and voluptuous breasts opened her lips, which were tinted with red lipstick. Now I understand why the commander called our special forces before calling for the Great Gate. The commander nodded. The Special Forces were special troops created by recruiting those who had experienced the Great Gate among the TP. This man is a martial artist with high combat abilities, which are close to the gate. What is even more dangerous is that there is a nano machine in his body which cannot be traced or identified. An untraceable chip? What? Is that even possible? Everyone was shocked. No nano machine could escape from the surveillance of the space-time detectors. Even if the nano machines were made small enough to operate, the electromagnetic waves inside the machine couldn't stay hidden for long. It was possible to cheat for a short time, but they were always found. The commander spoke in a strong voice. This is why we need the power of the Special Forces. We need to capture this man. Are you going to extract the nano machine? A captain of Special Forces asked. With such great technology, it would be a waste to discard that nano machine. The commander nodded. But it would be impossible if we don't catch him. At least for the sake of order within the space-time system, your efforts are needed. I don't know how many teams will be needed, but this will be fun. Because of the Blade 6 group, I was always curious about the special abilities these martial artists had. I will go. A captain of the special forces applied. The commander nodded his head, and then extending his hand, he said, "We never know, so you should probably take one more special forces unit to support." Someone, who was sitting on the other side, got up from their seat. He was a tall, muscular middle-aged man in a purple uniform wearing an oxhorn helmet. It was just a 3D image, yet, the overwhelming pressure was too much to handle. "I will support." The corners of the commander's mouth formed into a smile. "Ugh, so the special forces of Keanu will go?" The commander was quite relieved. A middle-aged man in a green uniform asked with arrogant eyes. "Is it fine if we bring him back barely alive?" Dark Night. Mt. Magal is located in the western part of Liaoning province. There was an unusual location at the top. Unlike places where trees and bushes grew sparsely, this location seemed clean and empty for a radius of about 5 meters. One might not think much of it, but one could see that it was unnatural compared to other places. Looking into the area, it seemed like a base camp had been built with electronic devices. There were 4 men in purple uniform in front of monitors, each watching the screens. They were members of the Keanu Special Forces Unit, one of TP's 5 special forces. In the middle of the barracks, the captain, Keanu, was sitting with his arms crossed. A13 coordinates, deployed. B11 coordinates, deployed. C15 coordinates, deployed. Looking at one of the monitors, the image was being transmitted to them from the night camera. The camera's viewing angle was looking down from the high sky, capturing a ground scene. It was an unmanned stealth drone. Beep. Beep. When a living organism is detected on the screen, it will automatically analyze it. So far, they haven't been able to find anyone with a nano machine. "Captain, it's going to take a while." In front of the monitors on the left side, a young man with short gray hair and bewildered eyes shook his head while speaking. "We are used to face-to-face combat, so it would be better to cooperate with the Dead Rose Special Force." "Therese." Keanu interrupted his words. He looked annoyed at the words of the member. Therese, the young white-haired man, was bewildered. Yes, Captain. Our Keanu Special Forces are veterans who have defended the Great Gate 4 times in Europe. What kind of cooperation are you planning to do with a unit led by a girl who uses telekinesis?" Keanu didn't even recognize the other unit as a part of the Special Forces. That was how arrogant he was. But he had every right to be. If he hadn't been placed in the TP by the command of the UN military chief, he might still have an active role in his former position. "You half-assed." The young man scratched his head. "Captain. I told you it's Tanaka and half-assed." "Whatever. How did the pursuit of Chun Musong of the Sky Corporation go?" After being transferred to Special Forces, he was told thousands of times to call him Tanaka, yet he calls him by that name. Taking a deep breath, the man replied, giving up. "Phew, I don't know. If the registered ID chip number were in this space and time, we would have detected it a long time ago, but there's no reaction at all." "Dudad." On the monitor screen, Tanaka pointed to the detection circle spreading around, but nothing was caught. "Isn't that strange? If he escaped into another time and space, it should at least be detected, but this is as if the chip is lost." It was then. Therese, the one looking at the monitor, shouted, "Captain! Look here!" Everyone's eyes turned in that direction. Something was caught on the drone's camera. Hundreds of thermal sensations were detected approximately 4 kilometers away. "Just a crowd of people?" At Tanaka's words, Therese shook his head. "No. If you look at them, their bioenergy is too strong." "Martial artists?" "Could be something like that." Keep the drone's retroreflecting panel open and lower its altitude to get closer to them. Roger. There were many drones that Therese was controlling, and they were getting closer to where the heat sinks were. After reaching a distance of about 2 kilometers, the camera began to show. When zoomed in, they saw a lot of barracks and people. They immediately started to look for the person they were supposed to catch. The screen was running a search on the image, which was previously stored. It wasn't that long. Beep. Beep. As the image magnified, someone walking out of a barracks was caught. The corners of Keanu's mouth went up. Found you. It was the unregistered Nano machine holder, the martial artist that their commander had shown them. Nice. The special forces will. He was about to give the orders to move to the coordinates shown by the drone, but he wasn't the only one who was shocked. Captain, that one, doesn't it look like he's looking into the camera? The young man with black hair and sharp-looking eyes was staring intently at the camera. It was impossible to look at the stealth drone, which had a reflective panel activated and was 2 kilometers away in the dark night. Therese said, waving his hand. It must be a coincidence. If his nano machine had the ability to detect the drone, it could have figured out our location, but this isn't enough. It was then. The young man in the video pretended to swing something at the drone. And crackle. The camera split in half, and then the transmission was cut off. Everyone stared dumbfounded, but Keanu shouted, "Have the other drones arrived?" At those words, Tanaka and the crew went back to their monitors. B-15 almost reached the coordinate. Crackle. Ah. Tanaka's monitor screen went blank. But that wasn't it. Crackle. The screen, which another operator, Baron, was trying to switch, went blank too. Most of the drones had reached the location, but a strange phenomenon occurred where the screens were turning off. Only one monitor was still alive. The drone being controlled by Liam, who was as big as Keanu, was live. The nearest location to their target was 2.3 kilometers. That was when Keanu urgently exclaimed, "Don't go any further. Just increase the altitude and zoom in on him." Roger. Da-dung. At that time, a person's face zoomed in on the monitor. With an annoyed expression, Keanu spoke. "Are you playing? Liam? You zoomed in too much." Liam turned his head in confusion. "Cap-tain. I haven't made any adjustments to the screen." "What nonsense are you saying? Are you telling me that he's in front of the camera?" Besides the reflective panel, the drone was high in the sky. It would be impossible to fly without switching into suit mode, but the man on the screen wasn't wearing a suit. Keanu spoke in an absurd tone, finding it hard to believe. Crackle. Ah. The young man on the monitor reached out to an angle. Looking at that, it must have been at the camera. No, I mean, he is really in front of the camera, chick. At that moment, the screen on the monitor changed to a blue screen, and letters moved up quickly. Tanaka spoke, realizing what was happening. And no way. Is he trying to hack the drone? Liam was shocked by what he heard. He has a nano machine, right? This. With that, Therese urgently tried to kill off the connection with the drone. But it didn't happen, so he forcibly broke it. Quang. The force of the fists was so strong that the controller was completely shattered. Captain Keanu decided that something was off. He thought the opponent was someone who had strength, and he thought that he could be someone as tough as the Great Gate. But this one was making his palms sweat. It felt as if he was on the battlefield. It wasn't something to be taken lightly. If the opponent had extraordinary abilities and knew how to use the nano machine so freely, he could no longer think of himself as someone with the upper hand. I looked down on him. Nice. You are a martial artist of this era. So let's do this right now. Thinking that, Keanu shouted to his stunned members. Keanu Special Forces. Roger. Move the base camp and come up with a strategy to hunt him down. Understood? Everyone nodded and replied. Roger. The crew began to clean up the camp in unison. It was right to move the camp because the drones were lost, but there's a high probability of being tracked if the man managed to hack into it. Trained, they could do it in an instant, and they quickly organized the equipment. Now quickly dismantle the barracks and move. It was then. Quang! A loud roar erupted from outside. The entire barracks shook. Ugh. What is this? The barracks are equipped with a powerful magnetic shield, which could block any attack. Quack. However, the ceiling of the barracks was ripped open, and someone entered. Thud. Bewildered, the members of the Special Forces spread out. The only one who stood still was their captain, Keanu, who mumbled. Why you? A young man with long hair and a white face. He was the man who had the unregistered nano machine inside him, the one impossible to detect. The young man, who exudes overbearing energy, looked around and spoke in his usual cold voice. Found you. Chapter 479. Special Forces. Part 2. Among the abilities that Nano unlocked, there were a few things that were particularly difficult to understand. One of them was system hacking and reverse detection, and he never dreamed that it could be used. The more I know about future technology, the more shocked I get. Thanks to Nano, he was able to trace back where the drone came from, but he was shocked to see the barracks. He didn't expect the hidden retroreflective panel functions to be used this widely. So these are the ones. Chen Yuan looked at the 5 people inside the barracks. They were all wearing purple uniforms, and they seemed shocked. They were muscular and large, and they all seemed to be similar to the size of Ko Wonger, of the 6 Swords. Huge. But that wasn't the point. Chen Yuan spoke first to those who seemed to be on guard. Why did you track me down like that? He was referring to the stealth drones. At that question, Keanu opened his mouth. You speak Chinese, too. Ahaha. You must be Chinese. Or maybe Cantonese? It was similar to the TP officers who had come before. After speaking in English, the man suddenly spoke in fluent Chinese. Keanu continued speaking again. Don't tell me that you don't know the reason behind it? He clicked his tongue, looking at Chen Yuan, who didn't seem the least bit shocked. And Chen Yuan realized the reason. Was it that ungrateful brat? Even after removing the ID chip, the tracking was fast. Did letting one go turn into this problem? Troublesome. Even if they tried tracking, he thought he could have some free time on his hands. But they managed to find him within 2 days. Do you think I'll let you guys take him? Him? At Chen Yuan's words, Captain Keanu shook his head and said, You are misunderstanding something. Our purpose is you. Me? You, a man of this age, don't you have something in your body that isn't compatible with the era you are living in? Chen Yuan's eyes narrowed at the question. Until he came here, he thought that their purpose was to get his descendant, Chen Musong. But that was wrong, they know of Nano. Last time, he deliberately refrained from using the abilities of Nano. Of course, this time, he used them to track these people down. He wasn't sure how they found out, but they noticed that he had Nano or a nano machine in his body. So you have something to do with me? Time patrol. If they knew it, then he didn't have to hide it anymore. Chen Yuan openly spoke. This time, the eyes of the Special Forces members, even Keanu, were shocked. As expected, you are aware of our existence because you have been injected with a nano machine. Or did you hear that from the criminal named Chen Musong? Criminal? Yes. criminal. He committed the worst crime, which disrupted the flow of time and space from the moment he tampered with history. Chen Youwen's eyes turned cold. And as if to warn Chen Youwen from doing anything, Keanu said, "Don't take this the wrong way. I doubt that this is an era where things can't be solved with words. We operate in accordance with the United Nations Time Patrol Act. In this era, it's like the Emperor's order. So? He's a criminal who interfered with the flow of time and space and indirectly harmed people. If you come with us quietly, get arrested by us, we will remove the nano machine in your body and adjust your memories so that you can go back to your normal life. Simply put, a surrender." Chen Youwen shook his head at those words. From the beginning, Keanu knew that Chen Youwen wouldn't surrender. He was just stalling to think of an attack. "You are making an unwise choice. I thought that you would at least have the ability to think and judge properly because you have a nano machine inside you, but in this era, you speak bullshit with a lot of care." "What?" Chen Youwen raised his right hand. And then he clenched it as if he was pressing something inside his hand. And bang! 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 With dust rising off the ground inside the barracks, explosions occurred in 4 directions. No. Tanaka couldn't hide his embarrassment. What just exploded was the magnetic confinement device. It's easy to subdue an opponent of a specific time while it constantly moves on the ground by absorbing the sounds. Did you think that I wouldn't know if you tried stalling? Shit. Keanu Special Forces. Open. Those who were on alert, at the order of their captain, moved back. At the same time, purple metal suits covered their bodies. Cha-cha-cha-cha-chack. Once the suit transformed, the 5 of them stretched out their arms towards Chen Youwen. Then, something was shooting from the hole, which was formed in their palms, a strong energy wave. Whoa. Low-frequency infrasound. At Nano's warning in his head, Chen Youwen opened his arms wide. Inside the barracks, where there was no wind, a strong tornado rose. Wing. Strong winds, which acted like shields, blocked the low-frequency infrasound. Kook, how is he blocking the infrasound? Therese bit his lip. They knew that the nano machine would get in the way, but it seemed like the machine immediately let the man know how to stop the attack. Huh. If this is blocked, we will subdue him with force. At that time, Liam, who had the same physique as Keanu, jumped at Chen Youwen from behind. Shoo! The suit form had accelerated the man's movement. Liam threw his fist at Chen Youwen's head. Chen Youwen turned around and slightly blocked the fist with a single hand. Pack. HM? Chen Youwen frowned. He thought that it was a simple punch, but the power was immense. Even Chen Youwen, who had the strength to break through the sapphire wall, was about to be pushed back. Chick. Whether you are martial artists or something else, you can't stand the power of my remodeled body. Liam was a human weapon whose entire body was converted to artificial muscles. Since it easily surpassed the limit of human beings, the punches he threw had tens of tons of power. If it was a battle of plain physical power, he could overpower Chen Youwen. But hack. Chen Youwen, who was pushed back for a moment, went stiff. He didn't move anymore, as if a huge wall was supporting him from behind. How? That was when he heard Chen Youwen's words. So what if you have physical strength? Chen Youwen had reached the peak of internal energy. He instinctively knew that he couldn't overpower Liam with pure strength. Kook. Then Liam used his other fist. Chen Youwen caught it too. Suit upgrade. Swoosh. As soon as Liam's words fell, the particles on his suit moved and wrapped around his body, and the force of his punch rose sharply. Liam, hold him. Tanaka shouted as he pulled out a device from his waist. Push. When a button was pressed, a sword made of light, a lightsaber appeared. Chen Yuan, seeing that the lightsaber giving out red light was unusual, tried to shake Liam off. But before that could happen, a sudden vibration occurred from Liam's fist, which was covered in his suit. DRRR. Ultra vibration occurring in the armor of the opponent's suit. Nano's voice sounded like a warning. It seemed like he was trying to destroy Chen Yuan's hands, which were holding his fists. Quahahaha. It's too late to regret. You caught my body so, slash. Thud. Something fell with a thud sound. Falling to the ground was nothing but, my arm? Liam's arm, which was supposed to be in the purple suit. Crackle. Sparks shone on the severed section of the arm. As it was a remodeled body, he didn't feel any pain. Although he didn't feel any pain, he was shocked. He opened his mouth as he blinked his eyes. How did you? The suit? It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the suit's material was made with the hardest material on the planet. He couldn't hide how shocked he was when such a material was cut down so easily. I wonder if the head is remodeled too. What? As Chen Yuan slightly waved his hand, the invisible sword that cut off Liam's arm pierced his forehead in an instant. Puck. Quack. Liam fell backwards with a small shout. This bastard. Wing. Tanaka's lightsaber aimed for Chen Yuan's head. When Chen Yuan stretched out his left hand and pretended to push him away, Tanaka and his lightsaber bounced back. Ugh. Whoa. He didn't fall. The white particles emitted from Tanaka's suit stopped him from falling. Unbalanced, despite that, Tanaka aimed the lightsaber. You monster. Die. And... pang. A beam of light that extended from his lightsaber rushed for Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan waved his palm in the direction from which the rays were flying in from. Phut. Ripples formed from his palm as the space shook, and the rays bent away and pierced the barracks. It was the unification of energy, which he saw Arcui do. Quack. And no way. How can he bend beams with his bare hands? They didn't know that such things could be done without a nano suit. Even if he wore a nano suit, dispersing the light beam could be done, but not bending it. What kind of, this is annoying. Chen Yuan reached out to grab the lightsaber. Whoa. What? Huh? He tried to steal it with internal energy, but Tanaka was holding on to it firmly, as it was connected to the suit. It seemed like he was pulling the arm instead of the weapon. Well, there is nothing I can do. When Chen Yuan said that, energy rose. An invisible sword emerged from above Tanaka and fell, trying to cut off the arm which was holding the weapon. No. Then, Therese, who was wearing a thicker suit than the others, shouted. Panel. Cha-cha-cha. That very moment, Therese's suit disintegrated and turned into 30 drones with muzzles that moved. Swoosh. Those drones all surrounded Chen Yuan. Red dots appeared all over the vital parts of his body. Stop. Lift a finger, and I shoot. All drones were capable of using ultra-vibrating bullets. He was sure that stopping them at such a close distance would be impossible. But, he was confused with Chen Yuan's reaction. I see. And, no. Despite the warning, the invisible sword cut off the arm of Tanaka, who was holding the lightsaber. Slash. Quack. A scream from Tanaka. Maybe he wasn't a remodeled human. That's probably why he couldn't bear the pain and cried out. Therese cried out. You motherfucker. Shoot him now. The AI in the suit, which controlled the panel, gave the order to fire. But it stopped. An anomaly occurred the moment the bullets were about to leave the muzzles. Drones not set. The voice of the AI was heard in his ears. What do you mean? The control of the panel appears to have been eroded. Drones aren't responding to the order. What? Despite the AI speaking in English, he couldn't understand until Chen Youwen raised his hand. Chick. Then, the guns aiming for Chen Youwen pointed to the remaining members of the Special Forces. No, this is absurd. How can this happen? This was nothing much for Chen Youwen, who could handle thousands of air swords. Looking at those who were bewildered, Chen Youwen spoke with a sly smile. You said you'll shoot. Why aren't you doing it? Fuck. Therese swore. He couldn't shoot. However, unlike Therese, who was panicking, their captain could guess one thing. The movement control has been lost by us, but he cannot shoot. Which meant they still had a chance. Therese. Can you hear me? Captain? He ordered Therese to blow up the drones at his signal. Since the opponent had a nano machine, they had connected their communication frequency, just in case. It's possible. The drones were still around Chen Youwen. No matter how strong the man was, if the drones exploded at such close distance, even a monster would get injured. This means they would be able to take down Chen Youwen without much effort. Step. Step. Hiding his intentions, Keanu stepped forward. Ah, you're making me take the lead. Until now, he just looked at what happened. As he moved, his upper body grew even larger, probably because the suit made it look like that. I never thought that I would have a chance to show my skills since the last Great Gate battle, which happened 2 years ago. You are special in this era. Thanks to you, I get to warm up my body. His voice was full of arrogance. Despite seeing all that Chen Youwen did, he didn't feel scared. The other Special Forces members had a high level of trust in him. It was like they were thinking, the captain is moving. Keanu took a unique pose and continued. Martial artist. Be nervous. You will experience that it's impossible to deal with me, a fighter who has experienced the Great Gate. Slash. At that moment, Chen Youwen acted like he wielded something. Puzzled, Keanu asked. What have you done, Drip? Before he could finish speaking, the thick neck of the captain fell to the ground. Roll. Roll. The members of the Special Forces went stiff. It happened so quickly that they were too shocked to realize what just happened. Chen Youwen mumbled in an annoyed voice. Why are you talking so much?